But how is all this going to be impacting our Indian markets? We have a team of research, as always, joining in with us to set you up for trade and tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for. And Vivek, good morning. Let me start with you. What is the trade setup looking like? Yesterday, the last few hours that we saw, the Nifty again see a decline. But what are we expecting today?
Absolutely right, Vinny. Yesterday was a day of volatility. All of the hard work that was done by the markets in the kind of recovery that you saw intraday, you did see quite a bit of a sharp dip coming in as far as the second half was concerned. But today the cues are much more positive. All of the US indices rebounded very sharply after day for yesterday's sell-off. So that's some positive cues coming in from the US markets, like you mentioned. All eyes today on the Fed Reserve decision as far as the rate cuts are concerned. Now, oil markets, something that we track closely, that too rebounded from the multi-week lows that it was struggling with. Indian markets, like you mentioned, a very volatile trading session. Broader end of the markets continue to see significant selling pressure. Banks and NBFCs were the stars of the show yesterday. This on the back of the RBI liquidity enhancing measures that were announced Thursday evening, and on the back of that, banks actually outperformed quite significantly. Well, a whole host of earnings is what we will be looking out for. First, earnings reaction, which are the companies that came out with results yesterday post-market hours: Bajaj Auto, JSW Energy, Colgate, BHEL, Suzlon, all of these will react. And today, some important earnings, especially from the auto pack, Maruti, Tata Motors, NBFC, Big Boy, Bajaj Finance, as well as a whole host of other mid-cap names too will come out with their results today. Asian markets, most of them are shut today. Japan is trading, but GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive start. It'll be interesting to see whether that can sustain.
Absolutely, Vivek. We'll surely watch out for that if it's going to sustain going forward. But let's move on and go across to Hormaz, who's here to tell us which are the important stocks to watch out for in trade this morning. Good morning, Hormaz.
Morning, Vinny. And you run out of breath. You're trying to describe the number of earnings that are lined up in today's trading session. But we'll start off with some important names that came out after market hours yesterday. Bajaj Auto is one of them. Most of the other parameters were in line with expectations, but the focus was on margins, that there was a fear that it might slip below 20%, but the company has managed to sustain above that level. 20.2% was the margin figure for the quarter. Suzlon will also react to results. Revenue and profit almost doubling from last year, but deliveries were at a record high at 445 megawatt, which was around about 160% growth from last year. Colgate's numbers were in line or marginally below expectations, but the toothpaste volume growth was in high single digits as compared to a CNBC-TV18 poll of a 4 to 5% growth. Motilal Oswal, the slowdown clearly evident on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The wealth management business was down 10%. The capital market business was down 13%. The asset and private wealth management business, though, grew, although the profits were down 60% on a sequential basis. SBI Cards as well, the profits were down on a year-on-year basis. The provisions were up. Asset quality, though, was stable, but their annualized credit cost remains a key pain point. There's a 9.4% figure coming in compared to 9% last quarter and 7.5% last year. BHEL's numbers, it was a strong execution in the power and industry business that led to a revenue growth and a revenue beat in the quarter, but gross margins expanded over 1,000 basis points, but the margin expansion on the EBITDA level was below expectations, and that was on account of a rise in other expenses. MGL's numbers almost similar to IGL, better than expectations, but on a year-on-year basis, of course, you would see a lot of red on the screen. VIP Industries as well reporting a loss compared to a profit last year. Revenues also down, so were the EBITDA and the margin figure. Apart from earnings, you also have ITD Cementation, where the Adani Group has received the CCI approval to acquire the 72.64% stake that they had initially proposed. The NMDC is also in focus because the company is planning a 70,000 crore rupee capex over the next 5 years to achieve that 100 MMTPA capacity by 2030. And JSW Steel has extended the long stop date to acquire that 92.19% stake in Minas de Revubo to the 30th of June. And also keep an eye out for Swiggy and Afcons Infra because their shareholder lock-in period ends today.
Okay, Hormaz, thank you so much for that. Surely a whole host of stocks that we're keeping an eye out on today. But finally, we have Sudarshan, who's joining in with us to tell us the important cues that you should be keeping on your radar in the world of FNO. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Good morning, Vinny. So while pressure in the mid-cap space has continued, there was a buying in the large-cap space, and we saw that Sensex and Nifty closing with gains, while mid-cap index amid volatility closed with minor cuts. For today, GIFT Nifty, ahead of FOMC outcome, is indicating a start with minor gains. Talking about the flows, yesterday we saw FIs selling more than rupees 4,900 crore, but buy figure by DIs was almost rupees 7,000 crore. In the index futures too, FIs have sold nearly 500 crore, but good parties, they have added long positions of more than 4,000 contracts. At the same time, they have reduced short positions by 30,000 contracts. Also, interesting data coming from option side. FIs in the index option have bought more than rupees 4,000 crore. Also in the stock futures, their buy figure was more than rupees 2,500 crore. And now in the stock futures, they have bought for 5 consecutive days. And total buy figure is now almost rupees 10,000 crore. Talking about FI's long exposure, now it has increased to 25%. And on the client side, long exposure remains at 68%. On the option side, on the call side, 23,000 call has shed more than 13 lakh shares with premium at 50, and on the put side 23,000 and 22,900 put were active. So what does option data indicate? That on the upside it's capped around 23,000 and on the bottom side it's around 22,900 or 22,800. So support is now seen somewhere around 22,740, resistance at 23,200. Stocks that will in focus, the stocks that have come out of ban are India Mart, Manappuram Finance, MGL and PNB. Now there is no stock that is in the ban.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for giving us the update in terms of what will be happening in the world of F&O this morning. But yes, that's what we're keeping an eye out on.